Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a really mind-bending idea, one that brings together ancient spiritual wisdom and some pretty cutting-edge science. It's a concept that could totally flip how we think about our minds, our reality, and maybe even what happens after we die. So let's just jump right in and challenge one of the biggest assumptions of modern science. We're all taught to think of our brain as the thing that creates us, the source of who we are. But what if that's not the whole picture? What if it's something else entirely? All right, so here are the two big ideas on the table. On one hand, you've got the traditional view. The brain is a super complex machine, a biological computer, and consciousness is the software it generates. But on the other side is this emerging kind of radical view. The brain isn't a producer at all. It's more like a receiver, an antenna that's tuning into a consciousness that's already out there. And trust me, that one little shift in perspective, it changes absolutely everything. To really get our heads around this, we first need to explore a really foundational idea that, might sound a little bit like science fiction at first. And that's the idea that reality itself is actually made up of a whole bunch of different frequencies. Just think about it for a second. Right now, in the room with you, there are radio waves, Wi-Fi signals, cell phone signals. They're all there, all occupying the same space. But you only experience the one you're tuned into. Well, this theory suggests that other realities, maybe even other dimensions, work in exactly the same way. They're not millions of miles away. They're right here, just on a different station. This whole concept is captured perfectly in this quote from the Seth material, which is a really influential series of texts. It's saying that moving between these dimensions isn't about traveling through space. It's about shifting your own internal state. Like just turning the dial on a radio. So you might be asking, how do you actually change the station? Well, according to this framework, it's all an inside job. It starts with consciously focusing your intention, your mental energy, and then elevating your emotional state to things like love or gratitude. When you do that, you literally begin to change your own frequency, which can allow you to start perceiving things that were totally invisible to you before. And this brings us to a really crucial point. If reality is this huge field of interacting frequencies, then our thoughts and our emotions, they aren't just these private little experiences happening inside our heads. Nope. They are powerful broadcasts that have real, tangible effects on the world all around us. In this model, these intense negative emotions, things like hate and fear, they aren't just fleeting feelings. They actually create a tangible energetic residue. You could call it a kind of psychic pollution that can literally linger in a room or even in our own personal energy fields. And look, this isn't just some abstract, metaphysical idea. This pollution can mess with our mental clarity, our emotional well-being, and what's wild is that science is actually starting to catch up. Fields like psychoneuroimmunology, which is a mouthful, I know, but it's basically the study of how our mind affects our body, are proving this powerful link between chronic negative states and our actual physical health. Okay, but here's the good news. Just like that pollution can be created, it can also be cleared. And the antidote, according to this way of thinking, is to intentionally generate positive, high-frequency emotions. Love, compassion, gratitude, forgiveness, these are not just nice feelings. In this view, they are powerful frequencies that are actively cleaning up our energetic environment. In fact, some fascinating experiments with group intention have even suggested that focusing on these states can create measurable physical shifts in the world. So if our thoughts and feelings are broadcasting out like radio signals, where do they all go? Do they just disappear? Well, this theory takes the ancient idea of the Akashic records and gives it a modern twist. It's not some mystical library up in the sky. It's more like a form of electromagnetic persistence. It means that every single one of your experiences, they don't just vanish. They become a permanent part of a cosmic information field. And this brings us right back to where we started, to that central, really challenging question. What is the brain actually doing in all of this? Let's dig into how this theory builds a completely new model of the mind.
Let's just break this down side by side. In the producer model, we all know your consciousness is the software and your brain is the hardware that creates it. Simple enough. But in this receiver model, consciousness is the broadcast and your brain is just the radio picking up the signal. And get this, it would mean your memories might not even be stored in your brain cells at all, but out in that cosmic field we were just talking about.
And listen, I know this sounds pretty radical, but it's an idea that some very respected scientists have been kicking around for decades. We're talking about a Nobel Prize winner, Sir John Eccles, the biologist Rupert Sheldrake, Dr. Peter Fenwick, who studied near-death experiences. All of them, in their own way, proposed models where consciousness exists independently of the brain. Okay, so let's take that idea and run with it. If consciousness isn't produced by the brain, if the brain is just the receiver, well, that opens up the biggest question of all, doesn't it? What happens when that receiver stops working? According to this framework, death isn't the end of the broadcast. It's more like putting down one radio and just becoming aware of the symphony that was playing all along. It's a transition, a shift in focus back to our broader non-physical identity, with our memories, our personality, all of it completely intact. Your unique life, everything you thought, everything you felt, everyone you've loved, it all persists. It leaves behind this distinct electromagnetic signature, kind of like a spiritual fingerprint that's permanently woven into this living information field. Your identity isn't erased, it's recorded forever. And this, for me, is where things get really, really interesting. If this field exists, and if these unique signatures are stored there, it just begs this enormous question. Could we, one day, actually develop technology to tune into it on purpose? I mean, think about it. We are already building brain-computer interfaces that can translate a thought into a digital command. It's not really that huge of a leap to imagine future quantum devices that are sensitive enough to tune into these more subtle frequencies, maybe even accessing that vast library of experience or the unique signatures of those who are no longer in a physical body. Ultimately, what this whole idea suggests is that the line between mind and matter, between life and death, it might be way more blurry than we ever imagined. It challenges us to see consciousness not as some random accident of biology, but as the fundamental, unifying field that connects all worlds and connects all of us. So the real question is, what do you think is the true nature of your own consciousness?